Hello and welcome to episode 199 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now this episode is a huge one. This is a guest that I've wanted on this episode for a number of years, and now the time is finally here. On today's episode, I'm joined by the incredible Matt Tuck, yes, the guitarist, singer and songwriter from the amazing Bullet for My Valentine. This has been a long time coming, but honestly, the interview is worth the wait. Matt is so open, so honest, and an absolute pleasure to have on today's episode, and I can't wait to share that interview in just a couple of minutes' time. But in true typical Mark and Me fashion, I always like to use the intro of each and every episode to discuss the last episode. On episode 198, I was joined by Jock, Will, and Billy from the amazing band Puppy. The interview was really popular, and I want to say a massive thanks to everyone that tuned in. It was great to see so many people now going and checking out Puppy, hopefully seeing them on their UK tour and falling in love with this amazing band. And if I've helped that, then I've done my job. But as I said, today's episode is a huge one. I'm joined by Matt Tuck, and I can't wait to share it. So I think the best thing to do is to get straight to it. So here's me and Matt talking all things music. So Matt, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Matt, what I want to do today for anyone that hasn't listened to your band, which, you know, who the hell is that person? But if they haven't, I want to give them a good insight into yourself, really, and how it all started. So tell me about, you know, as a kid growing up, obviously you're in Wales. What sort of bands were you listening to at the early days that made you fall in love with bands and music?
The bands that I fell in love with, I grew up in quite a musical household. My dad was a huge music fan. He never played any instruments, wasn't a musician, but he always had music on in the house, and it always ranged from things like Status Quo, Bruce Springsteen, Eagles, Bob Seger. So kind of classic rock and roll, singer-songwriter stuff, you know what I mean? So there was always music on in the house. There was always music in my ears. And it wasn't something I really paid attention to until I was about 13, 14, and started to discover music for myself, really. And those bands were Metallica, it was Nirvana, Guns N' Roses. It was the kind of mid-90s grunge, rock and roll, heavy metal scene, you know, just kind of captured my ears. And from the moment I heard Metallica's Black Album, that was when I knew I wanted to do what I do today. It was a very, very kind of life-changing moment for me, was discovering that band, you know, and then I just went on my musical journey from there. And it ranged from everything from like Nirvana all the way up to kind of Pantera, you know, anything with guitars, anything that was loud, anything which had attitude.
It sounds really similar to me. I remember doing a paper round, and literally all my pocket money every week would go on the latest trip to Virgin Megastore, Our Price, and I remember buying the Black Album and Nirvana Nevermind and Guns N' Roses, and they just change your life, don't they? There's like, even when you listen back now, 30 years later, they are flawless. Like, they just staple this mark in your life where you can pinpoint the exact moment you remember listening to those albums.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every generation has that moment, you know, but obviously we're kind of on the same page here with our musical journey. But yeah, it was that kind of era between 1993 and the year 2000. There was just such amazing music, and such amazing records were being made. And a few years even before that, before I discovered music, really, it was just a magical time, you know, and just dived in head first and with both feet and never looked back, you know. It was just, as soon as I got into music, I was just besotted with everything that I could get my ears into, you know?
And then following that, I always find it really interesting when you're kind of then led to your first gig, and seeing a band on stage is so much different, isn't it, than listening to your tape or your vinyl or your CD. What was that first gig you remember going to that shook that rib cage of yours and kind of put those hairs up on your neck, that you remember going, fucking hell, now this is definitely what I want to do?
There's a couple, really. The first one will probably be a bit more surprising to people, but when I was 13 years old, my parents took me to see Meatloaf in Cardiff.
Oh, wow.
Arena. Yeah, so that was kind of pre me getting into music, but my dad was always a huge Meatloaf fan, and they managed to get tickets, and they took me along, so I went kicking and screaming. But from 10 seconds into the first song, my eyes were open, like my senses were alive. And it was just something about the drama, the volume, the kick drum beating through your chest, the tone of the guitars. And it was just, I was just like, wow, okay, cool. And I think that was probably the moment, even before I kind of got into music myself and started to discover music, I still remember the moment, you know, it was a long time ago now, but I still remember it having quite a profound impact on me as a person, you know. And it was, I don't know, it just kind of, like I said, I just had this sensory overload, and it was something I'd never experienced before in my life at that point, you know. And I think from that moment on, that's when I started to discover music, wanted to be in a band, play guitar, play drums, and yeah. So that was the first one, but the first real one, which kind of springs to mind, that's in more of my world, was I went to see Sepultura
Oh
in
wow.
Newport, yeah, in Newport Center off the back of the Roots album.
Fucking hell.
I think I was like 15, 16 at the time. And I remember just getting my ass like pummeled just by all the mosh pits, and the volume was like unlike anything I'd experienced before. And, you know, people that don't know who Sepultura are, you know, they don't mess around, you know, it's super intense, it's super loud, it's super aggressive, no clean vocals.
No.
It's, you know, it's a pure metal band, you know? So yeah. And again, it was just that whole thing of, just experiencing that for the first time was just, yeah, just monumental for me, you know, growing up, starting to get into music and starting to discover all this quite extreme heavy metal. And then going to see them live was a very different thing to picking up that album the week before, you know what I mean? So just amazing. So yeah, so those are the two that really kind of set me off on my way.
And looking up to somebody like Max at that age on stage, knowing that he can just have the whole crowd in his hand from the moment he comes on. My
Mm.
God, Max Cavalera is just unbelievable. Everything that Sepultura, Soulfly, all those sort of stuff that he's done, I still look at him now and think, you know, he just seems timeless. He doesn't seem to age. He just seems to just
Mm.
fucking knock it out of the park every time.
Yeah, man, they were a huge part in my kind of growing up musical journey. You know, Sepultura, they were a massive influence to me. You know, getting into heavy metal, starting to play guitar, learning to write riffs, just trying to capture the aggression and the attitude that they kind of delivered song after song, album after album. Yeah, Max is a legend in the metal world, you know, and he's still smashing it today. It's great.
It's amazing. And you guys formed in '98. Obviously, it wasn't under the name of Bullet for My Valentine, but you know that's when
Mhm.
you formed this band that you're still in now. You're 20. It's frightening, isn't it, when you think it's 24 years now, which is just mind blowing.
Yeah, man, I've been thinking about it quite a lot since the start of the pandemic. Really, so a couple of years ago, that's when you had time to think and look back and appreciate, you know, what I've done, what I've achieved, what the boys and I have achieved, and it's gone by so fast, man. It's pretty scary, you know, but pretty amazing. But yeah, at the same time, having that kind of that time to reflect was something that was probably needed as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely terrifying to know that 20 years plus has just gone by in the blink of an eye. Yeah.
And with that, because you know, I have so many bands I listen to, and unfortunately, you know, some of my favorite bands they just break up. You know, they have hiatus and never come back, or you just see that they just don't want to do it anymore. So they go on stage and
Yeah.
they're doing these tours, just cash grab tours, where it's like, you know, they're just doing it for the money. They're not in it because they want to do it anymore. What? How do you think it is that you guys have just carried on and just had this longevity where you still are so hungry, you can't
Mhm.
wait to tour again? I suppose having the pandemic and 2 years off must have probably made you hungry again, but you still go. You still are like the band that you were 10 years ago. You've still got that hunger and desire.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've always been that way. I think I've kind of always been the leader of the pack when it comes to this band. You know what I mean? I don't think it's been any real surprise to anyone to hear that, but I don't know, man. I just feel like I've just always had this like burning desire to always be the best I can be, especially when it comes to my music, you know? I've always feel like I need to kind of keep on top of things. I'm always hungry to deliver the next record, which is always, you know, to be the best it can be. So I think having drive and ambition and hunger is the main, I don't know, ingredient for longevity, regardless of what you do. You know, you've got to love it and you've got to want to push through good times, bad times, and you know, keep that kind of motivation going. Um, and yeah, you know, there's been times where that has dipped, but I think, like I said, like, you know, a few minutes ago, having the pandemic hit when it did was a great time to reflect and actually reset. You know, because it was been such a long time, even though it's gone by in the blink of an eye. You know, we're like 7 albums in, plus an EP, plus I've done side projects. It's been crazy, you know, and it was good to have that time to get my feet back on the floor, reflect, and almost reset my brain. And I feel right now that I'm hungrier and more determined than ever to get back on the road, to deliver music, deliver album after album. And that was that light was fading slightly
Yeah.
pre-pandemic, you know, even though I wasn't really aware of it. Now looking back, I can feel and see that side of me, which was never there before, you know? So I don't know. I think, you know, anything that's good at this pandemic for me on a personal note is it did, like I said, I've just hit the reset button and then we delivered this latest record off the back of that. And I think anyone that's listened to it can hear kind of how aggressive and how, I don't know, hungry and refreshed the band sounds, you know?
So with that, obviously no one saw the pandemic coming, and the timing, like you said, was actually ideal for you because it gave you time to reflect, step back, reevaluate. But you said then you kind of felt you were dipping a little bit, you know, maybe it was your mindset, maybe it was just doing the same thing again and again. So is it the fact that you had that opportunity to completely switch off, then miss those gigs, miss those festivals, miss touring,
Yeah.
that then made you more hungry?
Yeah, I think it was. It was just kind of that old kind of saying that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we've had such an incredible run. And the ascendancy, especially on the first 3 or 4 albums of the band, is like it's like Hollywood movie stuff, you know. It's like it's not something that really happens to a lot of bands, you know. And we just took it in our stride and we rode the wave and we didn't really complain or kind of resist, you know. We just kind of went with it and just did what we needed to do. But doing that, you kind of put blinkers on and you kind of forget as album after album, tour after tour progresses, you know, you just kind of go on autopilot and you're not really not hating it, but you're not enjoying it, you know.
Yeah.
It's just so repetitive and so intense that kind of mentally you just go on this kind of autopilot kind of mode, you know. And I definitely was on that mode for a good few years pre-pandemic, you know, even though I didn't know it and I wasn't like it wasn't a negative thing. I just wasn't ever living in the moment, you know. And I really kind of see that now. And I, you know, from this album on now, I'm gonna, you know, I've kind of refreshed my brain and can see how amazing what we do as a band is. It's an incredible gift and opportunity, you know. And that kind of goes by the wayside after 15 years and 5 or 6 records, you know. It's hard not to fall into that trap of it just being like, oh, it's the same shit,
Yeah.
different day, you know.
And you see that a lot, don't you? It's no disrespect to some bands, but they just go into autopilot, play the same show, same interaction with the crowd. You can see them over 2 nights and they say the exact same thing at the same point. It's just robotic. And, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you're not like that. You know, I saw you at the Download Pilot festival last year when the whole world was just starving for any type of live music, anything that we could have.
Yeah.
And it just felt this joyous, kind of religious moment that was, oh my God, we're allowed to stand in the field again. And okay, it's not as big, but we can have something that we've all been starved of. And it must be, I don't know how you got your head around it to go on stage again after probably 18 months off, but instantly it felt like that connection was just there again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an amazing moment. You know, that was kind of, for me, that was the starting point of me going, you know what, this is fucking cool. You know, what we do is like an absolute like opportunity and gift and whatever you want to call it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And that was the moment where it literally kind of dumped in my head and said, you know, shape up, Tucky boy, you know,
Yeah.
check it out, you know. And it was that whole thing. You didn't know what you got till it's gone, you know. And the download pilot moment was the start of the new version of me and the new version of Bullet, you know. It was such an honor and it was such a celebration of music and like how important it is for everyone to get in an arena, get in a club, get in a field and have those moments with your friends and connect with artists that you love, and the artists can connect with the fans, and that whole cycle of just positive vibes, you know. It's something that the world needs. And I don't think anybody understood that until it was taken away, you know. But to have those 10,000 people in that field at that moment was beautiful. It's a beautiful moment, you know. Probably the most beautiful and special gig we've ever played.
Yeah, and it's incredible now because it's opened the doors to the world starting to feel like we're almost back to normality. You know, you've announced more tour dates. You've got the Malta weekend with Bring Me the Horizon. You've got some incredible stuff all over Europe, and it feels like it is like that whole thing. You've said it, like you can't take it for granted until it's gone. And I've missed out on 2 years of going to festivals and gigs and rescheduled gigs, and finally it feels like you're allowed to do what you love the most now.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a long time coming. the eyes of the world were watching at downloads. We felt a responsibility to be part of making that event a success, which it was incredible. And yeah, it's, since 2004, I've never had a period of inactivity from music, even as a musician and as a lover of listening to music and going to shows. It's weird. It's been such a weird time, but it does feel now that hopefully by the early summer, especially for us, we've got that gig with Horizon in Malta, that's going to be the start of our comeback summer, and yeah, we've got an incredible routing planned and some amazing slots throughout Europe, Rock and Ring, Rock and Park, especially all those festivals. We're really looking forward to it. It's been like 4 years since we've done anything like that, It's weird.
You won't ever take anything for granted, I suppose, ever again. You get to play download again. You're like, fucking hell, this could be the last one we do.
Yeah, we had we played the download thing. We also did like a Nova Rock pilot in Austria, like September last year, and we managed to do our UK run. We've had a taste of it now, I'm sitting down as a band backstage in dressing rooms. We've had the talks about just this, about how we all just kind of took it for granted, and you just roll with it, and it becomes, and we always whinge on tour, oh, it's boring, just there'll be none of that anymore. We've all realized that what we do is an incredible job, and yeah, it was well needed for me and the boys. We've turned it into something really positive.
And with the release of your self-titled album, obviously it's your 7th album now. The reviews are absolutely insane. You must be loving the fact that I think it's your heaviest album. It's your most visual album. It's, for me, it's your best work. I absolutely love it. And usually you see a band that release a debut and it's their mark on the industry, and then they find it difficult to kind of top it because they've had so much expectations to deliver, and then they've left their kind of mark on the industry, and I think it's difficult. But you guys are just getting better and better, and now to be on your 7th album, which people are saying, it's not just me, the reviews are all 5 stars, 10 out of 10, people are absolutely loving it. It must be amazing to now go and play these songs live, which you must have felt have been locked away for so long.
Yeah, well, we started the writing process for this obviously pre-pandemic. In summer 2019 we started this album process.
Christ.
And like here we are, beginning of summer 2022.
Mad, isn't it?
So for us, yeah, it was a long time coming. It was kind of, we started the process, we kind of got a few of the key tracks, and the sound of the record was heavy and aggressive and visceral, and everyone was really vibing on it, and we knew we had something really special brewing and cooking. And then it just stopped, and it was such a kick in the nuts because we were on such a high and we were on such a roll musically and creatively that it did suck when we couldn't get in a room together and everyone had to stay at home for that 6 months initial, that first period. It was like, fuck, and then we were worried, like, are we going to be able to kind of recapture that energy? Thankfully, during the summer then, obviously 2020, when things relaxed, we managed to get back in a room together. It was like time hadn't passed for us, thankfully. And we started to continue on and write song after song, and it just kept coming out. And yeah, it was a great vibe once we were in a room together. But that 6 month period of inactivity, or whatever it was, 4 or 5 months, whatever, was worrying for us. But thankfully it didn't really affect anything too bad. And yeah, we're stoked with the way it came out. We think it's our best work by a mile.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have their preference on what they think is their favorite if they're a fan of the band. I get that, but for me as the singer and the songwriter of the band, I think it's pretty fucking epic shit.
It must be difficult as well, because you had that drive, that passion, like you said, you were all being creative, you felt this buzz, and then the momentum was kind of paused, which is just so fucking alien to anything we've ever had in this world, where everything was paused. You don't go to your job anymore, everyone's on furlough, everyone's working from home. You did very well to carry on and unpause and it not affect it, because you could have just lost all sense of direction or anything.
That's what we were worried about. Thankfully I had stuff to keep me busy a little bit, because we had a few of the songs demoed instrumentally.
Yeah.
So I had something to get my teeth into for vocals and lyrics and stuff. So I tried to keep myself as busy as much as possible. And what again, the gift of COVID for us was that time where there was no rush. Now we could really spend the time focusing on the tracks we'd already written, and I could rewrite vocals 2-3 times if I wanted to, because we weren't doing anything and it wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. And that actually as well turned into a bit of a blessing, because the songs that obviously people know on the record now, they did not start out like that. And some of them were written 2-3 times. But
Yeah.
that wouldn't have happened if we were on that road and it was like, okay, we deliver the record in 2 months, we need, and get it going. We want it out for the autumn for a tour here. And we've got festivals booked, there's always like forward thinking in with what we do, because of festivals and opportunities crop up for supports and stuff like that, so there's always a deadline, and that's a good thing to work towards, but it can also kind of make things go quicker than they should, so we had that freedom of spending as much time as we wanted on it, which was, again, just turned it into a positive thing for us.
I followed you and read a number of interviews with you, and I saw a couple of points you've made where you're trying not to be as stressed and take things so seriously. Maybe in the past you had. What was it that kind of changed that with you? Was it kind of being a father? Was it just stepping back and having COVID and seeing the world change? Was it just trying to enjoy yourself more and not take things seriously?
Mm-hmm.
But you did say you've had a kind of change in heart and now try and avoid any stress and try and avoid that whole mentality of everything becoming too much and too serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it all goes back to the not knowing what you've got till it's gone situation. It's like, I've just always been very focused, very driven, very motivated to be the best I can be, and for Bullet to be the best band it can be, And there comes to a point where that needs to stop, and you need to kind of just focus on living in the moment.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that, and none of us were. It was going on for such a long time, tour after tour, album after album. You get in that cycle of doing it. Like I said, earlier, it was we're on autopilot, and it's such a shame because so much time has passed, and I don't really remember a lot of it because it was just autopilot, and then when the wheels the brakes were put on for COVID, again, it was just realizing that it's like, fuck me, man, like we've just done like 2 albums just gone by in the blink of an eye. We just toured the world 3 or 4 times. I can't remember the last tour we did. We may not ever do it again, and I just haven't really enjoyed myself because I've been just so like focused on delivering the greatest, I just kind of more focused on delivering and being the best I can be rather than just living in the moment. It was, just an eye-opening moment for me. So just trying to kind of, from now on, from Download Pilot and from this new record, just to kind of have fun, just enjoy it, you just don't realize how quickly time can pass when you're not actually present and in the moment. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's difficult to explain, but just being present. I was never present.
Yeah, which is dangerous. And, unless you're strong enough in that moment to take a step and actually look at yourself as an outsider and think, hang on, if I don't stop, before you know it, another 5 years have gone by, another album's come out, and you're not actually appreciating what it is you're doing.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. So that's what I'm trying to do from now on.
And are you getting a good work-life balance? I know it sounds weird when you're in a band. It's not like you going into an office 9 till 5 every day. But being a father, you absolutely love rugby. You love cars. I know you've got like an obsession with being a petrol head. Do you have a good balance where you can switch off from the music and just enjoy being a family, just enjoy doing other stuff, or is it always there that you just wake up and you just want to play guitar, you want to write music, and you want to just live it all day every day?
No, it's the first one really. I do like to. I can switch off, and I have learned to be better at doing that when I'm home.
Yeah.
But again, that's just come with a bit of maturity and a bit of, you can say no,
Yeah.
And it's hard to say no, especially when you're in a band that's successful and all these opportunities are given to you, and it's hard because there's a whole team around us which rely on the band to work as well as the band members themselves, so it's it's hard, but as soon as you learn that you don't have to say yes to everything, it's like a light bulb moment, you know what I mean? It's just like, nothing's changed, it hasn't negatively impacted my life or my career. If anything, and as soon as you start getting into that way of thinking, you can have your cake and eat it, I've just kind of just been conscious to make sure that balance for me as a human is very, very vital to actually having longevity in my career as well. It's very important. So when I'm home for the last probably 5-6 years now, when I'm home, I'm at home.
Yeah.
Like I switch off. I don't mind doing things if they're good things to do and vibey and they're important to do, but I switch off. I mean, I don't play the guitar. I don't sing. I don't do any press. I think it's important to give 100% of me to the people that need me when I'm here,
Yeah.
not constantly having one eye on something and one eye on home life. I think it's important, and having, a young family and stuff. I think it's important to show my boy as well that, you can do what you love in life and you can be successful, but there's nothing more important than me being here with you right now. And for him to know that,
That's
I think
amazing.
that's a good thing, a good example to set for him.
It's weird. I had that exact conversation 2 days ago with my friend Martin, and I said to him, I've just become 40 a couple of weeks ago. And it's not a midlife crisis or anything, but I just see things differently. And it's not because suddenly I was 40. I think it's just the time of my life. But I used to just be saying yes to everyone. So, do you want to come to this party? Yes, yes, I should, because I don't want to miss out. And do you want to come to this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And now I've just learned to say, actually, do I really want to do that with my time? I don't have much spare time, but do I want to commit and say yes just to saying yes and have that fear of missing out? And do you know what? Since I've now said, do you know what? I can't do it tonight, or I just don't fancy it. I'm going to stay in with my girlfriend and my dogs and just have a night in. My life just feels 10 times better instantly.
Yeah, it will. You'll have that kind of mental and physical balance that you probably didn't have before. Because and it's a good thing. People that always say no should say yes a bit, and people that always say yes should say no a bit. Like again,
Yeah,
it's balance. You've just got to do what you want to do, but you've always got to kind of prioritize what's important first. And I think it is an age and a maturity thing that everyone has that moment. It's and I think we've had that crazy roller coaster ascendancy success that we had in the early days, and nothing's going to happen if we kind of slow down a little bit. If anything, it's going to make the fans hungry and the career have more longevity anyways, that kind of stuff. So as soon as, just rewiring your brain a little bit, that you don't have to say yes to everything because they're good opportunities. If anything, if you say no, they'll come back a better opportunity in a year's time. So yeah, it's been quite a fun experience for me to kind of play with that a little bit.
and when we started talking today, you talked about your idols, people like Metallica, obviously Guns N' Roses, these real amazing bands that are just iconic.
Mhm.
With you now being in the industry 24 years and bands still going like Metallica, do you still see that for being yourself with Bullet? Do you see yourself not going anywhere anytime soon? Do you see yourself
Mhm.
easily doing another 25 years? Considering it's gone so quick and you can't believe it's
Yeah.
happened. Are you kind of just thinking that'll be us? We'll just follow in those footsteps and still be doing festivals and hopefully headlining bands, festivals like Download and stuff in 20 years' time?
Yeah, as long as we're happy and we generally, it's in our heart what we want to do, and it's not for no money or anything. It's I think again, maturity and kind of longevity of how long I've been doing this now. I kind of realized that I've got to enjoy what I'm doing first and foremost. It's not about money. It's never been about fame. I couldn't give it two
Yeah,
shits about that. Kind of the side of my career. It's more just like, am I enjoying this? Am I happy? Do I feel content? And am I rewarded? And if it's yes, then hell yeah, I'm all about it. And at this moment, that's kind of where my head's at. You know. So yeah, I would absolutely, in my heart, want to be around in 20 years' time and headlining all these festivals that Metallica and that have done for years. I think it's on the cards.
yeah.
I think it's just being patient and waiting for certain bands to kind of hang up the guitars, and give the kind of the younger generation, even though I've been doing it 20 years, we're still by no means an old band, which again is amazing. We're ready to go, but again, it's just being patient, and I'd like to think that we will be there, but it's got to be for the right reasons, and everyone's got to be happy, and their hearts have got to be in it.
We need Kiss and Iron Maiden to piss off for a few years to give some other bands a chance to take that step.
There's a lot of talk about kind of festival headliners, especially in the rock world. That it can be very repetitive, but at the same time, like, it's still amazing to see these bands.
It is,
So
yeah.
I'm not bitter at the slightest, because it's a matter of time for a lot of these bands, and that makes me sad too. So, I think when the opportunity's right and the offers come in, we're ready. But until then, it's out of our hands. So we're just going to continue doing what we're doing, and hopefully that'll be the next chapter of Bullet's life in the next 3 to 5 years. Hopefully, we'll see.
Well, the fact that you said on today's interview that you think you've just put out your best work on your 7th album, it's you're loving it like you still just started. I can't see you guys going anywhere you know,
No,
but
no, exactly.
just
We don't see
continue.
ourselves going anywhere either. But we need to feel like we're doing something because we really love it and want to do it. It's not about profile, money, or fame, or any of that nonsense.
No.
And that's where all our heads and our hearts are all in the right place right now. So it's a good place to be.
What I ask everyone that comes on the podcast, and it doesn't matter if they're in a massive successful band or just starting out, or if they're a musician or just an artist, a lot of people that listen to Mark and me are in bands that are trying to make a name for themselves. And obviously the industry's changed a lot since you formed the band over 20 years ago, especially with streaming, and there's a lot more kind of importance on touring now. But what advice do you give to anyone that's listening today that idolizes you, that listens to your band and wants to be like you? Because you've done it for 24 years and not many bands are doing it still after 20 years. So what advice do you give to people that want to really get out there and really make a go of it?
I think first and foremost, it's commitment. You've got to be willing to commit 100% to what you want to do. If you're in a band or you're an artist and you want to make it in the music industry, it's an uphill battle. No one's going to gift you nothing, and it doesn't even matter how good or talented you are. It's all about a combination of luck, timing, right place, right. It's tough. It's really tough. So it's got to be 100% commitment, and it's got to be because you love it. Because if it doesn't happen and you've been trying 10 years, you don't want to kind of walk away feeling resentful or bitter about yourself. And it's
Yeah, definitely.
I think being creative and being in a band is just for fun. Just start it because you love it and just continue. And if it's something you want to pursue, then go for it. But it's going to require a lot of patience and a lot of commitment. It doesn't happen for everyone like it does for us, regardless of who you are and how good you are. It's about timing. It's about persistence. It's about a whole bunch of stuff.
And my final question today, and I ask this to everyone, and what I try and do on Mark and Me to make the podcast stand out and be original, is the artist that comes on the show during the interview gets to choose the final piece of music that's played on the podcast. So after this is all edited and wrapped up, you get to choose the final song. Now, it doesn't have to be one of your own. It can be a song that you adore. But when I ask the question, this is all edited, the world's about to listen to this interview, what is the final song that you'd like played? It can be by anyone in the world, any song, any band, any piece of music. But as a perfect outro for you that sums you up perfectly, that is your number one choice.
Love of My Life by Queen.
Oh, what a tune.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Makes me smile and cry every time I hear it.
There is no one else like Freddie Mercury ever, is there?
No, I don't think there ever will be. And it's such a shame. I was never gifted that opportunity of seeing him. He passed away when I was 11.
Yeah.
So, I never got the opportunity to see Queen with Freddie. And my God, I wish I did. Like, just the most epic frontman and epic rock and roll band there's ever been. And I think there ever will be. So, yeah.
An amazing choice.
So inspirational. So just songwriting of the gods, amazing.
Yeah, it's so sad, and with the film coming out a couple of years ago, and you seeing this footage from Wembley and Milton Keynes Bowl and all these famous DVDs I watch, I just wish more than anything I could have just stood there and seen him play in front of me just once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would have been a moment for sure. But there we go, not meant to be. But legacy and the band still lives on, and it's amazing. They've given us the gift of their music, which will last forever. So good on you, Freddie.
Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. It's been a long time coming, and I really am very appreciative of your time. I really can't wait for people to get the deluxe version of your album with extra tracks and a nice, sexy vinyl. Which is...
Yeah, there's some really good. The B-sides are epic. We kept them off the original album for a reason. They're not just kind of extra tracks. They're actually tracks that we want to have the spotlight going forward now for the next singles and stuff like that. So there's some good shit to come, man.
And I can't wait to see some of your shows. Obviously, we'll hopefully get some more UK dates announced, I'm sure, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah, we've already got because we were supposed to tour Europe after the UK January, February this year, but it obviously got cancelled and postponed because of COVID still throughout Europe. But we've got a full rerouted tour about to drop imminently, and it includes some very, very cool UK venues. So we're excited to let people know where that is. It's coming soon.
Incredible, dude. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Cool, man. Thank you. Absolute pleasure as well. Thank you.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and the amazing Matt Tuck from Bullet for My Valentine. What an amazing guy, so accommodating with his time, so open, so honest, and I loved him from start to finish, so a massive thanks to Matt for coming on the show. As you heard at the end of the interview, we discussed their brand new album that's coming out as a deluxe version, the self-titled album which is out on July 8th. I urge you all to go and pre-order this or get it when it comes out, because the extra tracks are 4 brand new tracks and they're brilliant, and honestly I urge you all to go and do this. Also, as you heard, there's going to be some new dates announced very soon, and I hope we get some UK dates very close to home so we can go and check them out, because they're one of the best live bands out there and they give absolutely everything. And hey, it feels like the world is opening up again now for live music, and we should take that and make up for the last 2 years of missing incredible gigs and incredible festivals. If you've really enjoyed today's episode, all I ask you guys out there to do is share it on your Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. I have links on markandme.com to all of those, and honestly it's just the click of a button. Retweet, share on your stories on Instagram, or put it on Facebook as a share or just as your update. It gets the word of Mark and Me out there and costs you guys at home absolutely nothing, and really does help bring a whole new audience to Mark and Me, and that's something money can't buy. And if you've really enjoyed today's episode, I do have a Patreon account. On markandme.com there's a link, and each and every month I guarantee a minimum of 8 episodes. On top of that, you get a welcome badge, which is the Mark and Me logo, exclusive just to Patreon people. And thanks to the amazing guys at Richer Sounds, I have some incredible prizes each and every month to give away to say thanks for supporting me. Only last month I gave away a Sonos system, this month it's some headphones, and each and every month the prizes get bigger and better. So thanks everyone that supported me, and if you really enjoyed today, please do sign up, because every penny you invest into Mark and Me goes right back into the podcast. I'll be back in only a few days' time with the big episode 200. I don't want to give anything away right now on who the guest is, but for me personally it's my biggest achievement and someone that I've wanted on the podcast since the day it started. So I hope you're all as excited as me, and we'll be listening to that in just a couple of days' time. So until then, look after yourself, listen to Bullet for My Valentine, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Broken my heart, and now you leave me. Love of my life, can't you see? Bring it back, don't take it away from me, because you don't know what it means to me. Love of my life, don't leave me. You've taken my life.